Now, as I mentioned in a previous movie, this movie is exclusively for Macintosh users. You PC people can watch, of course, if you like, but it only applies to the Mac. And so what I'm going to do is show you how to reassign Spotlight and Siri so those shortcuts don't get in the way of using the zoom tools. So notice if I press Command Spacebar here on the Mac, then I bring up this Spotlight search window right here. Doesn't really prevent me from using the zoom tool as we're seeing here, but it is kind of clumsy that it keeps coming up all the time. Whereas I believe these days by default, if you press Option Spacebar, you're going to bring up Siri as we're seeing in the top right corner of the screen, which you can dismiss just by tapping the Escape key if you like, but that does end up getting in the way of actually using the tool. And so as I was saying, if you just change the order in which you press the keys, for example, you press spacebar first and then the command key and click, you'll be able to zoom in without Spotlight. And if you press spacebar and then the option key, you can zoom out without bringing up Siri. However, what if you would prefer to just reassign those shortcuts? Then what you do is you go up here to the Apple menu and choose System Preferences in order to bring up this list of icons. Notice that I'm currently viewing my icons alphabetically. I could be seeing them by category instead. But in any event, what you want to do is click on this guy, Keyboard, and then you want to switch over to Shortcuts, and now drop down to Spotlight in this left-hand list, and you will see these two shortcuts here, which by default are Command Space for the Spotlight search window, which we saw just a moment ago, or Command Option Space for the Finder search window, which is really a disaster, in my opinion. And so what I recommend you do, totally up to you, is click on the shortcut to select it. So you need to make sure to click on that shortcut and then press Control Spacebar instead, and you'll replace the Command key symbol with this little caret that indicates the Control key. So this is the Macintosh Control key, by the way. Then I'm going to do the same thing for this guy. I'll select the shortcut and then I'll click on it again to make it active, and I'll press Control Command Spacebar or something like that. Just something different that involves the Control key, because Photoshop, generally speaking, doesn't use the Control key. It uses the Command key a lot, but not the Control key. All right, next what you want to do is click on this icon up here to bring up all the icons once again, and then we're looking for this guy, Siri. Now, Siri may be turned off. You may have Enable Ask Siri turned off, which is generally the way we work, because after all, I'm recording my voice all the time. But I do want you to see this keyboard shortcut listed right here. As I say, I believe by default it's set to Option Spacebar, but you could switch it to Function Spacebar instead, and that way it's not going to get in the way of anything, even if you leave Ask Siri turned on. At which point, I'll just go ahead and close this window and return to Photoshop. And now notice if I press Command Spacebar in whatever order, I can click freely in order to zoom in. And if I press Option Spacebar in any order, then I can click to zoom out. Now, the Mac OS periodically updates, and it doesn't update along with Photoshop, so things may change a little bit by the time you watch this movie. But generally speaking, that is how you redirect the shortcuts for Spotlight and Siri so that you can happily use the zoom tool from the keyboard here inside Photoshop.